Okay, so let's get started again. So last week we did a bunch of introductory stuff. We talked about what the internet was, what a server was, what the web is, and then we got right into writing HTML and basically creating a web page. Okay, so let's do the same thing that we did yesterday, and we'll just recap and get up to speed to where we were. So the first thing we want to do is create a new directory. You can just create it on your desktop if you want, and we'll call this web design class 2. And then we'll open up a text editor. So we're going to use I'm going to use Note++ for this demo. Do you have a text editor on that computer? Okay, what is it? Okay, Note++. Okay, so open up Note++ and then create a new file, and then save the file as, and then put it in the directory that you just created. So go to your desktop, and we'll go to here, and so save it as index.html. Okay, so what's the first thing that I need in my HTML document? So first of all, what are the things that make up the HTML document? What do we call those, the little things that we put all throughout our document? Start with a T. Tags. Tags, right? What's the first set of tags that we need? The outermost tags that we need in our HTML document. Remember? What's that? Head? No, not yet. That's inside, the outermost. HTML, exactly. So we're going to write HTML, and then we're going to close off our HTML with the same closing bracket, right? So remember, tags have opening tags and they have closing tags. So anything else that you put has to go fully in between these tags, right? If we added another tag, let's say, like, what was another tag that you said we needed? Head, right? So we would type it like this, right? Head. So the entire part, this entire segment here has to be between these two tags. You can't do this. You can't break them up like this. Okay? That's not good. That's illegal. Okay? So we want our tags to be within tags. So what was the tag that we put underneath the head? Body, right? So we have our body tag. Okay? And okay, so if we save that now and we go to the folder and we open up our HTML file in a browser, what's it going to show? Nothing, because we haven't told it to do anything yet. So how do I see this little bit up here? How do I change that text?
Head.
Head? So what do I do in the head? What do I do? A title. Yeah, we need another tag inside the head, right? Called the title, and we use the title tag. Okay. And then so we can say this is my web page. Okay. So when we save it and we refresh, then this is going to appear up here. Okay. Okay. Then we started right away with an easy tag, which our first tag I believe we looked at was the paragraph tag. So that's the tag you're going to use to wrap text that is just your general like content text. Okay. So we can put text in here. So what we can do is I like to use, did I show you lorem ipsum last week? Right? Lorem ipsum is just a block of text that looks like English. Lorem ipsum. And so it's just a bunch of gobbledygook that kind of looks like English. So you can use it to fill in your web page when you don't quite yet have the content. So we'll copy and paste this text in between our paragraph tags, and we'll save it. So now we should start seeing things in our browser. Where do we go? It was in Firefox. So now we're going to see our paragraph text here. Okay. So it's pretty simple so far. We haven't really done anything really advanced yet. Okay. Let's try adding a heading. All right. So how do we add, how do we make, so let's say if I have some text like this, it says this is my heading. How do I make this a heading? How do I make it a heading? Yeah, the H1 tag like this. H1. Okay. And so now if we refresh, now we have some big text. Okay. How about if we want a subheading? Yeah. Okay. H2. Okay. And we can refresh again, and look at that. Lo and behold. Hi. Okay. What else did we look at last week? So we also looked at the anchor tag. So what does the anchor tag do? What's another name for the anchor tag? What does it do? What can we create with the anchor tag? Links. So I usually call it a link tag. The proper name is the anchor tag, but that's what it does. So the symbol for the anchor tag is A, right? And then so we can just close it off like this, like we usually do, and then we'll put in this is my link. Okay, but what are we missing here? What does a link tag need? Yeah, it needs what it's linking to, right? So what we need to do is we need to put in an attribute into our tag, right? So what we do is we put a space after the name, after the character, and so the attribute for the link for the anchor tag is href. Okay, and then we can type in a link. We don't need the HTTP, but we can put it in there. So we can go back here, and now we have a highlighted link. Okay? Still with me? Yeah. Okay. So now, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload the slides for today, and we will continue on with new stuff. So that's pretty much where we got to yesterday, right? Okay. So you guys can have a look there. Okay, so just remember a note on file naming. So let's look back at our directory where our file was, right? Is this index like this, is that the same as this? Are these two different things? Capital I index and lowercase I index? Yes, they absolutely are. It's case sensitive, so remember that. Capital I index is definitely different than lowercase index. Okay? So remember that. And you can't, normally you shouldn't use spaces in your folders or file names in your web folder. So I know I did here, but normally if you're on a web server, I wouldn't recommend doing that. Okay, so try not to use spaces. Okay, so we're going to jump right into the next little technology. Remember at the beginning of the class I said there were 5 technologies we needed to know, essentially, to develop a web page. So it was HTML, which we've looked at already. We've learned quite a bit. Then it's CSS, JavaScript, PHP, and MySQL. So today we're going to look at CSS. Okay, so CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. Okay, and it's another type of markup language. And so what CSS does is it styles our HTML, right? So let's look at our web page. Our web page is pretty boring right now, right? Like, why? Who would visit a web page? You know, well, maybe if there was some important information, I would visit it still. But you want your web page to look decent, right? To have some style to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to use CSS, which is it's different than HTML, and it has a different syntax. And we're going to use it to apply style to our HTML file. Okay, so let's go here. Let's open up this. So have a look here. So this right here, this is the general CSS syntax. Okay. So how it works is, first you decide what element you want to style. So let's say you look at your web page and you say, oh, I don't like the font here, or I don't like the color, I don't like the size, or I don't like any one of 100 different parameters you don't like. So you can change the aspects of that. So what was the name of this bit of text? What kind of element was this? A header, right, in H1. All right. So here, what this is saying is we're selecting the H1 element. So we're saying all H1s. What we want to do is we're gonna indicate a property. So first we type this little curly brace, and then we indicate the property. So we're saying I want the color, and then we use the colon, and I want it to be blue. So it's property value pairs, right? And then we can go on to the next property value pair by separating it with a semicolon. Then we go to the next property, so font size, right? Then we have colon and then value, okay? And so this is an example of setting the p tag, okay? So there are two ways that you can attach CSS code into your HTML code. Okay, you can embed CSS code into your index file. You can do that into your HTML file. Okay, but I don't recommend doing that. What is recommended practice is to put your CSS in a separate file. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to go back to our text editor, and we're going to go File, New, and we're going to save as, and we're going to create a new file called stylesheet.css, and we're going to save it. Okay? Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our index file. Excuse me. And we're gonna go into our head, okay? And we're gonna use a new link now that we haven't learned, a new tag that we haven't learned before. It's called the link tag, okay? And this link tag has 3 attributes, okay? The first one is rel, and we're gonna set that to be style sheet. Okay, so we're telling it this is the tag that's gonna link our style sheet into here, okay? And then we're gonna give it a type. So we're saying to expect a text file that's going to have CSS code in it, and then we're going to give it an href, right? So we should recognize that from the anchor tag, and we're going to give it the name of our file, which in this case is style sheet. Okay. So, everyone have that? So now what we're going to do, we're going to go to our style sheet and we're going to apply our first bit of style. So, let's change the paragraph tag first. So remember, the first thing is we select the selector. We indicate the selector. So we're gonna change all the p tags, and then we give it these curly braces, and I always like to do my opening and closing braces right away so I don't forget. Okay, and then we can specify the color. Okay, so with Note++, it won't help you, but if you use Dreamweaver, it will give you some indication. So I always like to put each attribute on one line. So I'll say color.red and font size 12 pixels, and then save. So let's go back to our web page now and refresh, and there we go. So we've changed our font. Does everyone have some red font now? Yep. But you didn't put in the link tag. The link to your. Oh wow, it's happening. It's frozen. So here's the code again. So that's our CSS code, and this is our HTML code.
Can I just see the style sheet?
Sure.
So we got to save that style sheet also, right?
Sorry?
We got to save the style sheet also, right?
Yep. So what we did is, so there's two files now in our directory. So we have index.html and also stylesheet.css. Okay. So two files now. Sorry? Sure.
It's not coming up right.
Sorry?
It's not coming up as red.
Oh no? Okay. Go to your index. So.
I have index 2 also.
Oh, see, look, you have li. 12 pixels. So that's like 12, almost like 12-point font. Did you get the red text? Sorry? So do you have, in your index file, do you have a link tag that links your style sheet to your index file? Oh, also use double, you have a single quote there. And then this, you have the quote, needs to be on the outside of CSS. And that says line. Good. See you experimenting. You got it working?
is working.
No? Okay, let's see why. Let's figure out why. Oh, CFONN. Oh, and you don't have, you need a colon between the property and the values. Yeah. Semicolon. That's a semicolon. You need a colon. Hi. Sorry? Oh, yeah, sure, go ahead. Yeah. Okay, go back to your index file. Hi.
Did anyone see the charger was empty?
A laptop charger? I don't know.
I'm at lost in this classroom.
You can have a look around. I don't think anyone here
Thanks.
saw it. I don't think it's
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. That's odd. Oh, where's your closing head tag?
Oh, it went away.
Ah.
You know what is happening when I press space?
Yeah.
It gets deleted also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
so-
gotta watch it. Okay, still. Oh, this is also make sure. I want to make sure you tab. And, oh, where's your tab? Oh, she's just saying closing. It's okay. I don't think he needs space. Try it. I good or what?
Yeah.
Okay. So you gotta be extra careful, okay? We gotta make sure each character is correct, okay? So let's keep going. So let's do something else. Let's change our heading tag now. So let's, how would we do that? We would say H1, and we'd have our braces, and we could, let's make the font size to be 24 pixels, and we'll make the color to be black, or let's make it blue, and let's refresh it now. Okay, there we go. So you can see that's a little bit shorter than, a little bit smaller than the default value. Okay, now I'm going to introduce another idea to you. So remember I said that tags can have attributes. So what we can do is we could say, okay, where were we? Back here, web design. Okay. So what we can do now is we're going to go back to our index file. Okay. Whoops. Too many. Okay. And so what we can do now is remember I said that elements can have attributes. So what we can do is we can make certain classes of tags, right? We could make maybe some paragraphs we want to be part of the comments set class, and another paragraph we want it to be part of the answers class or something like that. So we want them to be styled differently. So what we can do, so let's copy these two paragraphs. Let's copy and paste this paragraph so that we have two paragraphs. Actually, let's make 3 paragraphs. Okay. So then in the second paragraph, in the P tag, I want you to add the attribute called class. And we're going to call this, let's say, we'll call it content. Okay? And then do the same thing in the second P tag also. Type class equals content. Okay? Whoops. Okay? So now, let's go back to our style sheet. So if let's refresh our page and see what it looks like in Chrome. Okay, so now we have 3 paragraphs that are red. But let's say we want to make only the class of paragraph called what did we call it? Hang on, let me just close this. We called it class content. So what we can do now is we'll say p.content. So now we're going to set the style for only paragraph tags of class content. So now we'll say color equals blue and font size equals 14 pixels. Okay? So now if I go back, now I have one paragraph that's styled like this, because this is just regular paragraphs, and I should have 2 blue paragraphs. Okay? Does everyone have that? Sure. So I have 3 paragraph tags, right? And 2 of them have an attribute called class, and the value of it is content. Sorry? Yeah, 3 paragraphs.
So the other two should be blue.
Yep. Because so if we look back at our style sheet, we've said for p.content, which means the paragraphs of class content, we want it to be blue. And bigger too. Okay? Is everyone up to that so far? Okay. So now we're going to start doing a little bit of layout now. We're going to get to an advanced layout. Because so far, this is very, very basic layout. Right? Nothing very complex at all. Okay. So we're going to learn about an important tag today. Very important tag. And that tag is called the div tag. Okay. So what the div tag is, it's essentially just an empty tag. It's a tag that does nothing but just provide some structure. Okay? So what we can do here is so we're going to surround our heading tags with a div tag. So a div tag looks just like this, div. Okay? And we'll tab these in like so. Okay? And we'll do the same thing to our paragraph tags. We'll surround them in a div tag. Okay? And we'll tab everything in so that it's nicely tabbed. Okay? So far, so good. So it allows you to sort of group together blocks of text or anything, elements, any HTML elements. Okay? So I think it's helpful to think of everything in HTML. Let's look at our course notes today. It's helpful to look at everything in HTML as a box. Did we talk about the box model already? I don't think so. Let's see. Okay. So everything in HTML is a box. So our paragraph, when we look at this, so we have our paragraph. This is a box. So imagine there's a box around here. Okay, even around our heading, there's a box that goes all the way around. Okay, and same with this paragraph. Same with our link tag. They all have square boxes around them. Okay, and what a div tag is it's just an empty box. Okay, so think of it this way. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to create the structure of our page using these empty div boxes. Okay? So the first thing is, imagine our body. We already know about the body, right? We know what the body tag looks like. So that's our main box. So remember I said everything in HTML is a box? So the body is a box. Okay? So then inside the body, we're going to have a div called, you can see that there? Okay, it's called container, right? That's going to go inside body, okay? And that's going to look like this once we style it, okay? So we know that div container is inside the body, and that's what we have in our HTML code, and that's what we're going to have in our structure, okay? Then also, we're going to put another div inside the div. We're going to have a div called header inside the container. Okay? And that's going to look like this. once we style it. Okay, and then we're going to have another div tag underneath header, but still in content. It's also going to be a box like this when we style it. Okay, and then finally, so then we can put a paragraph inside our div content area. Okay, and then we can style even the paragraph. Remember, because even the paragraph tag is a box. We can put a border around it if we want, right? And then finally, we'll have another div at the bottom called div footer. Okay, so see how we're using HTML to lay out the structure, but what's going to happen is we're going to use CSS to style that code. Okay, so let's do this layout. Let's do this. So let's okay, so the first thing we want is we're going to have a div tag, okay, and we're going to give it an ID, and we're going to call it header. Okay. Just like in our example. And I'm actually going to delete these div tags. I'm going to put my H tags up here. Okay. Then I'm going to make another div tag called content. Okay. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna delete this div tag here and this one, and I'm gonna copy and paste all my paragraph tag into my content area. And the way we how do we do that? Indents, decrease, shift tab. Why doesn't that work? Decrease. Shift tab. There we go. Okay. So now we have our content in our content tab, div tag. Okay, and I'm going to indent that a little bit. And then finally we're going to have our footer. So we're going to have another div tag, and we're going to name the ID, we're going to call it footer. Okay? So you should have, so your body, then you have a div tag with an ID called header, and then you have another couple of tags, so then you have your header tags inside your div tag, and then you should have your div ID content, and then inside you should have your paragraphs. Okay, and then finally you should have a footer that's empty at the moment. Yep. Go up. Sure, you can put the link in there. Yep. Sure. Down here?
That's it.
Okay, is everyone there? So if you go and you look at the page, nothing really has changed, right? Because we haven't given any new style to the div tags. So right now they're just invisible boxes around all of our other boxes. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to start giving the div tags some style. So how do we do that? So the first thing we're going to do is we'll go to our what do we want to do? I want to put one more div tag. So I'm going to put one div tag, and I'm going to call this container. Okay? And we're going to put this div tag around all of the other div tags. And then we'll tab this in a little bit. Okay? So no plus plus even lets me collapse the code a little bit, right? So I can click on this and then it will hide it, so I can kind of see my whole page altogether. Okay. So we have so div container and then 3 divs inside. Okay. So let's save that. Let's go back to our style sheet now. So what we can do is we can reference classes as well. We can reference so we can reference classes and IDs. So IDs, we use IDs. So remember when we styled the paragraphs, right? So let's expand this. So we used a class called content. So you use the class attribute when you want to style many different things with the same style. But we can also use the attribute ID if we want to style a single thing. Okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going to go to the style sheet, and the way we reference an ID is we use the number or the hashtag. Okay? And then we type in the name of the ID. So we want to style this div box here. Okay, so we're going to style that. So what we can do first is we'll give the box a width. Okay? Actually, before we do that, what I usually like to do whenever I'm working with div boxes is I turn on the borders. I put the borders on so I can see the boxes, so it's not invisible. So the first thing is let's make the border width 2 pixels. Okay? And we'll make the border style solid, and we'll make the border color, let's make it 0000000. That should be black, I believe. Okay. So if we go back to our page and refresh, see the div that's around everything? See how now it's a black, there's a black line, there's a border there. So we have made our invisible div tag, we've made it visible now. Okay? Do you still need to see that?
What is the 000?
That's the hash number for black, the color black.
Yeah.
No, you don't. You could just type in black,
Okay.
but the hash, if you used hash keys, you can specify really specific colors. Like if you like a really specific shade.
50?
I think you're even good with 3, I believe. Let's try 3. Yep. So in Dreamweaver, when you use Dreamweaver, a little helper tool pops up, and you can just pick the color, and then it puts in the right. Okay. So does everyone have this now? No? The code? You want to see? Sorry? Okay. Oh, okay.
Does the space after the letter, after like The instruction doesn't matter.
Where?
The space.
You mean?
The space.
Oh, here? No,
It doesn't matter.
I don't think so. No. Let's try it. No. It's might be good. Might be helpful for readability. It doesn't really matter though. So one thing I'm going to add now is I'm going to set the width of the box. So I'm going to add in the width keyword, and I'll set it to be, let's say, 800 pixels. Okay. Now let's go back here, and let's refresh. So see how now the box shrank? Now it's going to be 800 pixels big. Okay. So did you see that? I added this line here. So if we take it out, now it's going to be 100%. Okay. But if I put it back in, now it's only 800 pixels across. Okay. Now there's another way of specifying width. So we can put in pixels, and so that'll always be 800 pixels. So, but what happens if someone has a really small screen, and then their browser looks like this? Then they're going to have to scroll from side to side. You don't want that. That's bad. Okay. So what we can do is we can, instead of using, this is called an absolute value. So we can use a percentage. We could say, I want the width to be 80%. And what that means is, excuse me, I have to sneeze, I think. What that means is that div box will be 80% of the width of its container. So what is the container of this div container? What's the container of this div? The body. So it's going to take up 100% of the, or 80% of the body. So let's go back here. So we'll save it. We'll go back to, where did it go now? So now, watch this. Now as I shrink my screen, the div box always stays at 80%. So I don't have to scroll from side to side. Okay, that's very important to do because people are going to be looking at your web page with all sorts of different screen sizes. Not only different computer sizes, but also mobile phones, tablets, netbooks, all sorts of screens. So you want to avoid people having to scroll from side to side. Okay, and so one technique of doing that is using percentages wherever you can in your CSS. So when you set the width, use a percentage instead of pixels. So this is what we're doing here. This is called responsive design. Okay? It means it's responding to your different screen size. Okay? Okay, so let's keep going. Let's do some more styling. Let's so now let's style the header inside our content area. Okay? So again, we're going to reference an ID here. See this div tag, it's ID of header. So in our style sheet, we're going to use the £sign and the header ID name, and now we're going to set some values of the header. Okay? So now we'll set a height. But in this case, it might actually be good to use an absolute value for the height. Okay, because that's different. The height is different. So we're going to set a height of 200 pixels, and we're going to set a background color of, and we'll use this hex value 0099FF. Okay, and then we're going to just turn on the borders again. So we'll use border dot bottom width, and we'll set that to be 2 pixels, and we'll use border dot bottom style, and in this case we'll use dotted. I usually don't use that, but we'll just use that just so we can see what it looks like. And then we use border bottom color, and we'll make that black as well. Okay. So what this is going to do is this is going to just set the border on the bottom. Rather than the border all the way around, we're just going to turn on the bottom part of the border. Okay? So let's look at what that looks like. Here we go. Okay? So you should have something that looks like that. Sure. Blue, the light blue. Yep. Yep. Where's your code? Sorry? Yep. Yours isn't showing? Oh, you're missing a semicolon. Oh, and here too. And that should be this colon. Or, yeah. Here's what you guys. No. After height? No, that's fine. The line above height should be colon. Semicolon at the end. Yeah, but then. No. Semicolon there, and then here. Colon. And something's wrong. Okay. So yours isn't showing up? Oh, in here.
You're missing.
Hmm? Sure. Hey, no phones in class, man. Come on. Okay, so everyone have it now? And one thing, there's a fix. Yeah, yep. Let me just see. I'm just going to try one quick little fix here for display. Okay, so let's keep going. The next thing we want to do is style the, so we've styled the header, so now we want to style the content area. So let's go back here, same thing, hashtag content, because we are referring to an ID, and then we want to, we'll set a minimum height. Okay. So it will be at least this big, but it can be bigger. If the text makes it bigger, it will expand. And we'll set the background color to be, I think it's the same, or a different color. Let's. Sorry? Pink. Sure. So we'll go back here and let's see. Here we go. Same, it's that same colored blue. So we'll go back to the code. Okay, does everyone have that? So the next thing we want to do is we'll style the footer. And so we'll give it a height of, let's say, 120 pixels. And we'll give it a background color of same blue. And we'll give it a border top width of 1 pixel and a border top style of dashed. It's another style. And the border top color black. Or, yeah, that's black. So let's see what it looks like. There we go. So now we have the footer. Let's go back to the code. Okay, so I just did a little fix. So sometimes web code doesn't always work as it's supposed to. So you might have noticed there used to be a little space above there. Okay, so what I've done is my header, I've added a little trick. So I've changed the display mode as inline block. Okay, and I've added a width as 100%. So do that for header and for content as well, and that should fix that space that was there, like so. So now it looks better. Okay. So did you guys add that in there? So add width 100% and display inline block. Okay. So does everyone have this now? What do you want to see? Index?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, so just add this line here to your content.
Oh, content.
Both, yeah. Do the header and content. Okay. Yep. Okay. So let's do something else. Let's introduce. I don't think we've looked at the image tag yet, have we? I don't think so. Okay. So the image tag. So let's put. We'll just put an image at the top in the body, so we don't confuse things. So the image tag is just a tag like any other, and we use the img keyword. Okay, and then it takes in at least one attribute, which is going to be the file name of our image. Okay, and the image tag is actually a self-closing tag, so you don't need a closing tag for your image tag. And the other thing you're going to have, the other attribute is called alt text. And so that's when blind people use the internet, they use things called screen readers. And so a screen reader reads out all the text on the web page. And so your alt tag, that's whatever text is in there, that's will be read out when. So if you just put my image, then the screen reader will read, say, my image. So it's best to put something pretty descriptive in there. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Google. We'll go to Google Images. And we'll look up an image of a rock, let's say. There's a nice rock picture. Or let's get a small one. That's a good rock, I guess. So we'll visit the original image. We're going to save it. Now remember, I'm taking probably a copyrighted image, but if we're just going to use it for our own private purposes, it's probably okay. But if you're going to publish it online somewhere, then you have to think about what kind of images you're getting. Okay. So let's save the photo as rock.jpg or whatever you save a photo to as well. Okay. To your directory. So now in your directory you should have 3 files: your index file, your image, and your style sheet. So what we're going to do is we're going to, in our source attribute, we're going to put rock.jpg. So now let's take a look at our web page, and now we have a big picture of a rock, and it's pushing everything else down. So what we can do is we could say width. Actually, what we should do is we should let's open up the file. And do you have Photoshop on your machines? You have Photoshop? No? Okay, have any of you ever used Photoshop? Yeah, a little bit? No? Okay. So what you should do is download a program called GIMP. It's Photoshop, but it's free. Okay, so download the program GIMP. I'll download it too. Might take too long. I think it's pretty big actually. Let's see how fast it goes. So okay, I'm going to show you the right way to do it, and then I'll just show you the quick way to do it as well. So the way to do in what we could do is we could change the display size of our image. So we could just say width equals 100 pixels. Okay? And then we could refresh our page, and now the image is going to display 100 pixels wide. Okay, but that didn't actually shrink the size of the file. It's still that same big file. So what we should actually do if we want to display a small image is we should open it up in either Photoshop or GIMP. So we'll click and drag it in. Then we'll go to image and we'll change the canvas size, or the image size, I suppose. And we'll change it to 10% of what it normally is. Okay. So now the file is actually small. Okay. And actually, let's undo that. Let's make it not 10%. Let's make it 20. Okay. So we'll save that. So now we've actually changed the file size. Why would we want to do that? Why would we want to consider that? Save on what?
So that you can see them on the browser.
No, that's not why. It's because we want to save on bandwidth, on server bandwidth. We don't want to send a big image file if people aren't going to be seeing the image. Okay, so that's the actual size of the image now because I shrunk the image. Okay, so Does everyone have an image now? So what we want to do is let's take our image and let's paste it above our lorem ipsum text here. Okay, so now our rock should be inside here like this. So there are a couple of classes of elements in HTML, and a lot of them are what are called block elements. So an image tag is a block element by default, and what a block element does is it automatically puts a new line after the end of the element. So see how we have our image, but then after the image there's a new line and the text starts there. But what if we want our text just to hug this image, like go start up here? Okay, so what we'll do is we're gonna set the style of our image. So we're gonna go back over here. We're gonna go up to the top and we're gonna type img because we're gonna set the style for images. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna set it to float left. So what that does is it's going to now float to the left, and then everything else will sort of now can exist beside it. Okay, do you see that? Okay, but now this looks a little funny, right? It looks funny with the image right up against the side there, right? So what we want to do is remember everything's a box in the web. So everything has these things. Okay? So we have the border. We've already worked with some borders, right? But everything else also has a margin. So we can increase the distance between the div tags by increasing the margin size. Okay? So let's go to our web page here. So what we want to do is we want to create some space around our image. Okay? So what we can do is we can go to our image and we can create a margin. Okay? And let's try it with 5 pixels and see how it looks. Okay, so see, that's a little bit, not quite enough. So let's make it 15. There we go. That's starting to look a little better now. Okay. So we also might want to see our text is really is right up against the edge there too, and that looks a little funny. So how could we make this text line up with this image? How could we do that? How did we do it with the image? Yeah, so how can we do it for this text? No, not the container, the paragraph. The paragraph. Yeah, the paragraph. We could do it in the content, but then what's going to happen is then you're going to get space between, like there's going to be a break. So there's going to be white space here and the blue is going to be pushed over. So we want the paragraph to be pushed over. So what we'll do is we'll add a margin around our paragraphs. And let's make it 15 pixels as well. Okay. So now we go back, and now our text is a little better now. Okay, now there's a margin around our text. Okay? Does everybody have that? Sure. Oh, okay. I'll be right back. Okay. So does everyone have this? So, well, what I did was I shrank it in Photoshop. But what you can do is go to your image and then say width equals 150 pixels. Or whatever size you want. Maybe 300 is better. Like that. Mm-hmm. What happened?
Oh.
But did you have the colored background before?
Yeah.
Yeah? And then it broke?
Yeah, it broke.
this end?
Yeah.
Oh, because you have a round bracket.
Oh.
See, just always one little thing, but that's all it takes, and it messes up your whole program. You gotta have every piece in place exactly. Oh, so you're missing a.
Oh, see, well, you have to save that file as style sheet. So create a new directory. And then save that as style sheet.css. And save the other file as index.html. Your semicolons.
Okay.
So how do you do that again? I just don't do it.
Oh, so did you install it? I have to install it too. So once you have GIMP installed, you just install it, or you run it. And so let's get another image, because we're going to put another image in here before the end of class. So let's go back to Google. Okay, and we'll go to images again. And since my web page is going to be about rocks, I'm going to get another image of a rock. Okay. And then I'm going to save the image to my directory, and I call it rock2. Okay. And so I have GIMP. It's going to take a minute to open up. It's taking a while. Oh, not responding. No, you can use all sorts of formats. JPEG is just the most common. There's other formats like PNG, and you can do things like have transparent backgrounds that are helpful sometimes. But I usually use JPEGs 90% of the time. Okay, so we have GIMP is open now, so we can just take our image, so Rock 2, and I'll drag it in here. And so it's pretty big. I want to shrink it down, so I'll say image, canvas size, and I'll change it to %, and then I'll make it 30%, both the height and width. And I'll resize it. Oh, no, wait. I didn't want to do the canvas size. I should have done scale image. And I'll go to %, and then I'll lock them, and I'll put it to 30. Oh, it unlocked it. So I'll go to 30. Scale. And there we go. So now I'll save it. Why does it want to... No, I want to save it as... Or maybe I have to export it. Export as a JPEG. And that's what we'll do. Yes, replace. And there we go. Okay, so GIMP does a lot of things that Photoshop does, and it's free. So, okay, so now I've shrunken my image. So now let's do something else. Let's do this. Let's go to index, and let's before our third paragraph, let's put another image. Right. So the way we do that, we use our image tag, and we give it a source. We'll call it rock2, because that's the name of my file. And then I'll give it an alt tag, and I'll say this is the second image of a rock. Or I'll say, no, this image shows a giant rock. And then I won't set the width, I'll just let it be the natural width. Okay? So let's see what that looks like on our web page now. Okay. So maybe we might want to shrink that down a little bit. So let's set the width to be 300 pixels. Okay, so now if I go back, now it's going to be a little bit smaller. But let's say I want this image to be on the other side. I want this one to be on the left and this one to be on the right. Okay? So what we can do is we can set up classes for our image, just like we've done for our paragraph, right? So we could say, let's call this image, we'll put in another attribute called class, and we'll make this equal to, we'll call this left. And we'll call this, the class of this other image, we'll call that right. Okay? And then what we can do is we'll go back to our style sheet, we'll go back to our image, and so we'll change this from image, which is going to change all the images, we'll change it to image dot left. And so now only images with class left will be on the left. And so now we'll copy this, we'll change left to right, and we'll change the float here from left to right. Okay? And now we shall refresh. And there we go. Now we have an image on the other side. Pretty cool, right? Okay. What do you want to see? Sure. Okay, guys, so I think we'll wrap up there for this week. I won't give you any homework this week. I'll give you a little bit of a break. But make sure that you have this web page, that you have this, that you have this, right? Basically. And play around with it. between now and next week, right? So, you know, change the headings, change the font sizes, play around with the CSS. The best way to learn this stuff is to just experiment and try things out. Okay? So far you should have a heading like a page like this. And so this is the beginning of the layout of a web page. Sure. Okay. Oh. Okay, so go back to your index. So if you take out the width here, the images will show the actual size that they are. Okay. So, but that's too big. So what you should really do is shrink it down in GIMP.
Okay.
But what you can do is also just set this width to be, let's say, 300. Now try it.
So this one's
Yeah, same thing.
I just shrunk that.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. Sure.
Sure?
Yep.
Why would you take the class on the image?
Well, because we want one of the images to be on the left and one to be on the right. So then in my CSS here, see I have image, so I'm saying elements of image that are of class left, I want you to float on the left. Elements of image that are of class right, I want you to float on the right. So this image here, it's class left, and it will float to the left. And so that's this image here. And it's floating to the left. And then this image here, it's class right, and it's floating to the right, and so that's why it's on this side. Okay? Just the same way as, remember we have paragraph, we have regular paragraph, and then we have paragraph of class content. And we set class content to be blue, and the regular paragraph to be red. And so that's why we have a red paragraph and a blue paragraph.
Oh, so the content was just to differentiate, like so that the CSS can know.
Exactly. So exactly, to differentiate. That's exactly right. Yep. Yep. Sure. That's probably because the source is wrong. Yeah, so see here, your file, that's raw space to space. Yeah, so take out the space in here.
No.
Yeah, so what you can do, there's a couple of ways to do it. Let me see. So we could, in our header, we can, let's see, I believe it's text align. So I wonder, okay, let's try this first. So let's set the header. Let's try the header text align. And we'll try center. Let's try that. Okay, so that's how you do it. So you set the containing element. You set that. So what's the containing element of our headers? Of these headings? What? This header, right? So what we did is in the style sheet, we set the text align property to be center. Okay? And that will center your text. Yep, great. Sure. What's that? Because you don't have a color. You just a specified color for the background. Yeah. So that is when you're referring to classes or IDs. Sorry, IDs. Right. So go back to your index. So see how you said div ID equals container. So when you refer to IDs, you use the hashtag. When you refer to classes, see there, class, you use the dot. Why? Because we're differentiating between these two tags. That's it. It's just an ID. It's an identification. It's just a label. Yep. So div is an empty box. That's it. That we can style, right? So go back to, or open it up. Open up your in the browser. Open up your page in the browser. So like this is a div, right? This big box here, that's a div. Then this is a div here, and this is a div. Okay. So it's just a box that you can use to lay out your code, to lay out your text. Okay. The index? Okay, so next week I'll hand out the first assignment. Okay? It won't be too hard.
Be about the same thing.
What's that?
All about this.
Yep. Oh yeah, exactly. What's that?
I'm free to go.
Absolutely. You're free to go anytime. You're paying.
You're getting paid.
Yeah, I get paid the same whether none of you are here or all of you are here. Paycheck's the same. So, see you later. Oh, sorry. See you later. Sorry?
No. Go to your index file. Okay, go to your CS. Oh, what's that? I have the highlighting before. Oh, here we go. Oh. Yeah.
Ah,